But a similar argument can be made also when you still look at the lack of ownership of gold,
Yeah,
of major institutions. Well, of course, the famed Bank of Canada sold all our gold.
all of it. What else
And
do you need?
that's why money talks kick the butt out of the Bank of Canada. So don't talk to me about the knowledge of central bankers. I'm not a good guy to go that direction with, but yeah, we don't own any gold in Canada.
It's scandalous. I mean,
Yeah.
the Polish, all the governments are buying. The Turkish government is buying. The
Yeah.
Polish government's buying, and it's going to continue as well. I think. The, one day we're going to have currencies and maybe crypto link currencies that
Mhm.
are going to uh, uh, refer themselves to gold, right? So
Yeah.
the group with the largest reserves of gold is going to have greater financial power, and so if these governments are buying, they're buying for a reason. And
Yeah. I think the thing I enjoy most about doing Money Talks over all these years is getting the chance to talk to some really thoughtful, really bright people with great track records. And Paul Beattie fits that bill. BT Global, they've had a great run. They can, by the way, play stocks to go up or down. And there's some periods that we've had over the last few years where they've done far better on the down market because it seems so quick and dirty, like the kind of market we got for about, I don't know, 6, 7 weeks. Very pleased to bring Paul back into the show. Yeah, Paul, that was I mean, the yo-yo, the round trip, all of those things have given people whiplash.
that's whiplash as well. I think. Good to see you, Michael. Yeah, great to be back. Well, I remember listening to President Trump and with his little display and on the White House lawn and talking about how unfair all this trade is with America. I remember saying, this is something to behold, right? And we spent the whole night looking at the numbers and came to the conclusion that there's no basis for
No,
a lot of this. It's just these are just made up numbers, right? And what's so weird is that America is a service economy, and here they are having the president of the United States gripe about how they're not manufacturing enough goods and they have to buy imported goods. And meanwhile, of course, their services, they have a service surplus, I'm sure, with every country on the planet, right? And so we sort of ignore this big issue, which is America's doing very well, right? I think they trade with every country on earth, and they trade well, and they benefit from such trade. So we knew it was all kind of malarkey, if you will, the numbers anyway, and of course the markets figured that out pretty quickly. But it was a shock. That there was a true shock to the world, and of course the reaction happened. Right, the stock market didn't take long to get very nervous, and so we went down almost 25%, and a whole bunch of indices.
and I still see the impact though of the uncertainty because let's say we've done an around trip, let's say a cliche, but we've done an around trip on the markets, and a lot of stuff has recovered. But I'm not so sure. If I said to you, do you still trust what the administration is going to do in the states? I couldn't say yes to that. I don't know what the next move will be. I agree. Some reality has completely overtaken them. I mean, China was suffering, America was suffering, and they at least did something for 90 days. But the 90 days also gets extended if they have a single meaningful discussion. It sounds like they're trying to find a way out of this. But the point is, that doesn't convince me something else isn't around the corner.
It, what's funny, we've spoken to a number of CEOs of Canadian companies, and they're in discussions, right? They're all in discussions with
Yeah.
the U.S. government, and I know of one company that said, "Well, where do you want us to build our plant? Like, tell us where, because we don't think we can get the labor. To be honest with you, so like enough talk. We're not going to build south of the border because there's nowhere to build where we can get the quality labor at anywhere near the same price.
Yeah.
So numbers like in Canada maybe $17-18 Canadian an hour, and anywhere in the U.S. it's going to be 25 U.S.
Yeah.
So the cost differential is there, and it's not obvious that you can convince every Canadian company to go build south of the border, and so I don't know.
Well, also, you look at, I mean, they do have some shortages. Again, your point about it's different geographical locations, different skill sets, aren't there. But to me, that would encourage mechanization. I mean, the first thing I'd look at if I was, and I have owned a major manufacturing firm. So if I was going to move, I'd be looking, okay, well, given we're going to start up again, we might as well just mechanize the whole damn thing and avoid, so it's there, but there's so many examples where this didn't make any sense. I agree. Their premise was incorrect. The whole premise. I mean, they don't have you take out oil, they don't have a trade deficit with Canada. And if they did, that's not a bad thing. I mean, I got a trade deficit with my grocery store like you can't believe. I just keep giving them money and they've never given me any money back. So, I mean, the premise was ridiculous. And I did a quote of the week earlier where I'm saying, or actually it's coming up in the show, pardon me, it's coming up in the show, but it's just saying about the virtues of outsourcing. I mean, if you can get your parts less expensive somewhere else, it's to the benefit of the consumer. And that's why, by the way, I'm not going to let Prime Minister Carney off the hook. I thought one of the stupidest things I heard in the election was him saying we could do a made in Canada car. Australia tried it and failed, but what, 3,000 parts? We're going to set up manufacturing facilities. Where's the billions going to come from? So it's not just Trump who's talking nonsense.
Yeah, a lot of verbiage between our politicians and not even based on reality. Mm-hmm. So it's very, very frustrating for, I'm sure, all Canadian citizens and investors,
What about for your side, when you're looking at portfolios, did you make a lot of moves on the bull side when it dropped, or, you had positions on companies, you've done thorough research, the CEOs, you've invested in them, but did this change anything in that regard?
Well, I'd like to say we played it brilliantly and sold everything the day before they spoke, or Trump spoke at the White House. No, you're long and you're long biased and you get caught up in the downdraft. And I'll tell you, the shorts all worked. That happened, so that was great. That offsets it, but you're not short enough, right? And when the market's tumbling and then how do you cover? Well, this time you had to cover quickly. And and I think a lot of the rebound is that the market went down more than anybody expected and very quickly. And I think the shorts are covering. A lot of the buying is coming from people that say, well, I'm not sure it's going to go down any longer, and if it starts to bounce, I better cover quickly. And so you get added volatility, really.
Did it bring a lot of companies, like you'd have an existing position of companies that say you've done a lot of work on and you're comfortable with, over a time frame, you're not traders there, but it brings some down where you go, I got to buy more now.
Yeah,
like this is a crazy valuation. I liked it before, now they're putting it on sale.
I mean, one of our favorite companies, I think we talked about the World Outlook Conference, is this MDA space.
Yes.
And the CEO came out and said, just to be clear, 95% of our backlog, and they have a huge backlog, 95% is not affected by tariffs in any way. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty clear. I mean, 95, well, that's a big number. And anyway, but their stock still went down. Their stock got hit by 25%, and it still hasn't recovered yet. It's fun to watch right now because there are a lot of companies that have recovered, as you mentioned. The indices have recovered, but there are hundreds of companies that have sort of halfway recovered. And so this is where I think it's interesting to say, well, why haven't they fully recovered? And maybe these are the opportunities today.
And certainly to look at
dozens of them. By the way.
And to look at them and say, okay, we're just something so straightforward. Are these impacted by the tariffs, or are reciprocal, retaliatory tariffs? And when the answer is no, and someone says, well, I'll give you a 25% discount, it's
they're on sale.
Yeah, that's what I encourage people to think in those terms, though. I mean, again, we're not talking trading; that's another thing. But you're trying to find core positions that are quality. And when they put them on sale, at least I'm sorry, Paul, I feel like I'm putting words. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'm talking about my 312 years in the business. Get that? That's how I look old. Anyways.
I've been listening to your show. Your speakers and yourself are right on the right themes. Gold is worked out, as you said. It's becoming volatile only because it's risen so much. Gold equities are even more volatile than they should be, because I people just don't know. But I think if you stick with the producers at these higher gold prices, then these producers are making more money, right? I mean, it's just a fact.
The other
So
thing you guys look at is cash flow, which I love. I'm talking going back years ago, you talking to me and our audience about the importance of cash flow. Never forgotten it. Always emphasize it now, thanks to what you guys have done at BT Global. And I guess I'm looking at an economic slowdown, probably, whether we label it a recession later or whatever. What's your take on that and the investing?
the to us, it's very clear Canada's going to enter a recession no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
There's just there's no way out. It is what it is. Not the end of the world, right? It's not going to, but it's going to happen. So we don't own any companies really focused on the Canadian economy.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's huge parts of the index. They have most of their business elsewhere, right? So, but I don't think Canada's going to do particularly well, and largely because Trump's in favor of taking care of America first, right?
Yes.
So we're going to suffer a little bit, we think. So call it a mild recession, but a recession for sure. U.S., it's not that clear. Look, just in the last week, people are now saying recession talks off the table. So
Yeah.
we'll see. The couple of themes that I think are very clear to us since basically Trump got into power. One is the volatility is not going to stop. Trump's not going to change his behavior. Clearly, nobody is in control of him. He does what he wants, and so that's going to continue. We think recession in Canada. We talked about. We think active management is going to do better in this kind of environment because some things are just very cheap, and then the indices, one could argue, can be quite expensive, right? And the indices are getting more and more concentrated, right? That Mag 7 is becoming a bigger and bigger part of the U.S. indices. So Bitcoin, we should talk about Bitcoin for 2 seconds. So we've been observing from the sidelines for years, 5 years. But with Trump coming in and basically endorsing crypto in general, deregulating and stuff, I think it is now clear as can be that the Bitcoin itself, not all crypto. I'm no expert in all crypto.
Yes, of course.
Bitcoin is steady enough as a store of value, right? As an alternative to cash, as an alternative to treasuries, as an investment opportunity. It's clear that it's going mainstream America. Mm-hmm. And so that means institutional demand, retail demand, but also banking. Have you heard this concept of crypto as a service? This idea that there's going to be a whole lot of innovation in the banking world because of crypto, and transactions are going to go through the roof, right? Instead of doing wire transfers, which, as you know, it's kind of archaic, right? You don't even know where the money goes. You go to the bank, you wire $100,000 somewhere, and you don't even know if it arrived for 3 days.
Yes.
And they charge you for it, and it's a kind of the SWIFT system's archaic. There are now programs, there are companies now where you push a button and you buy and sell. You go from Bitcoin into a stable coin into a fiat currency, and it all happens within minutes. And you know it gets to the other end, and then you can do the reverse. So things like this, it's all happening. So what does that mean? That means more investment demand for a finite amount of Bitcoins. And so there are only going to be 21 million of these things, and we can see they're worth about $2 trillion now at $100,000.
Yeah.
And you can easily see it doubling, easily going to let's just pick a number, twice as much. So is $200,000, $250,000 Bitcoin on our horizon? I would say yes. I would say it's clear to us. So we put some in the fund, and.
Yeah, so I'm just going to ask about that. So you own some in the fund, or for individuals, you just buy some Bitcoin, I guess is that simple question.
Sure, there are lots of ETFs, and and you just go buy a little bit and buy 2 to 3%. I think Fidelity said that. JP Morgan has said that. So if you just do the simple math, if all the pension funds do 2%, well, Bitcoin's going up.
But a similar argument can be made also when you still look at the lack of ownership of gold, of major institutions. Well, of course, the famed Bank of Canada sold all our gold.
All of it. But what else?
And that's why Money Talks kicked the butt out of the Bank of Canada So don't talk to me about the knowledge of central bankers. I'm not a good guy to go that direction with, but yeah, we don't own any gold in Canada.
It's scandalous. I mean,
Yeah.
the Polish, all the governments are buying. The Turkish government is buying.
Yeah.
The Polish government is buying, and it's going to continue as well. I think. One day we're going to have currencies and maybe crypto link currencies
Mhm.
that are going to uh, uh, refer themselves to gold, right? So
Yeah.
the group with the largest reserves of gold is going to have greater financial power, and so if these governments are buying, they're buying for a reason. And
Yeah.
yeah, it used to be a joke. I remember people would talk about $5,000 gold. You laughed at,
Yeah.
but now, gold's at whatever, over $3,000. I mean, to say that gold's going to $5,000, nobody's laughing anymore. I think everybody's sort of wondering, wow, when's that going to happen? And so the equities are going to do well. Remember that Eris mining? I think I talked about the World
Yes.
Outlook Conference.
Yeah.
Okay, just a quick update. This thing's up 46% since
From the
February
Outlook
1st.
conference. Yeah.
So it's done well. We've met with management since. These guys, they have two mines that are existing. They're going to basically double one of them this year. In the month of June, actually, it's starting. They're going to double the other one. They're going to increase capacity like 50% or more next year.
Mhm.
They've got a third mine they're going to build. It'll be completed the year after. And then they've got another mine that's in they're bringing out and spiffing up, and it'll be ready in 4 years. So you've got a company that's going to build a mine a year for the next 4 years. And it trades on the New York Stock Exchange, and I think it's trading around 6 times earnings, 7 times earnings. And so they've got enough money to fund all these projects themselves. And so anyway,
just remind us what the symbol is on that.
yeah, it's the same as the name of the company, Aris, A-R-I-S,
okay.
and that's their symbol as well.
Okay, so now you've whetted my appetite. You got to give me a couple more names that you guys have got on your radar. Everybody's got different financial circumstances. You appreciate that, and I do. But still, a couple of things to keep our eye on.
Well, I mean, just to be consistent with that's the great thing about this market. Good companies that have been doing well, have done well, are performing well in the markets. Our view is it's more likely those trends continue, right? So stick with your winners. So we talked about kits.
Yes.
Based out of Vancouver, right? These folks, I've got my kits glasses on right now. Okay, I paid $100 for them, but the largest optical retailer in Canada, Hakim Optical, declared bankruptcy last week. They have thousands of stores across Canada. This business of retail is not going very well, right? Eyeglass retail stuff, it's archaic.
Mm-hmm.
What you want to do is you want to go online and buy your glasses and have them delivered to you within 24 hours. That's the future. That's what Kits does. And I just heard just yesterday their ambition, right? They came out with their numbers. Their numbers are good. The stock's up. I think it's up 38% from the World Outlook Conference.
Yeah.
We're more bullish on the stock now than we were then. Okay. And why is that? Well, management came out and said their goal is to have 125,000 new customers next quarter.
Wow.
Next quarter. So imagine you run a retail network with a bunch of storefronts. How are you going to take care of 125,000 people next quarter? Like, I mean, it just doesn't work. Whereas you can do it online. And so business is good. And I think they're actually going to accelerate their growth. So anyway, there's another one for you. It's not an expensive stock, right? Anyway, whatever. It's interesting times.
Oh, absolutely, and they've done very well. Let me ask you just for an update on Telesat. Is that anything?
We talked about space. We love these two space companies that Canada is blessed to have. MDA Space and then Telesat. And Telesat is the operator, right? So they're not going to launch their LEO Earth orbit satellite system until 2027, but they in fact are going to get it up and working in 26, right? Next year. And right now they're signing deals with people around the world, corporations, governments around the world that want to use this service. And so they're buying time on on their network. And guess what? They're signing up somebody every month. There's an announcement yesterday. They did a deal in the Middle East. They hooked up with Norway, the Norwegian government. They did a deal with the Vitelsat, I think it's called
Hmm.
in Europe. Anyway, these deals are coming out regularly. We're being told it's not going to stop until 2027. You probably see a new deal announced every month. They announced that their backlog for all of this is over $1 billion now.
Wow.
And what I don't think some people realize is that Elon Musk and his Starlink network is doing great, right?
Yes.
Very successful. What I don't think people realize is that it's a private company. It's buried under SpaceX. They're talking about valuations for Starlink of like $200 billion,
Wow.
and Telsat you can buy right now at under $2 billion
Hmm.
US, well under that, and they have some debt. So let's call it four. Be very conservative. We'll call it $4 billion. So you've got the leader, the industry leader, has shown the path, has shown how great this business will be or could be, and then you've got a Canadian company that trades at just a mere fraction of the value, and in fact, Telsat's system apparently is superior technically. So I think you should have some of these shares. Anyway, these stocks bounce around, but they head up. MDA set, just to tell you what kind of life I have to live with, looking at all this stuff. MDA Space, the stock's up 7% today, but I don't know why. I can't find anybody who knows why.
Yeah.
Like anyway, the market's telling you, this thing's rebounding, and so I think business is pretty good there. So both of
Well,
them.
I'll finish with some good news here because, Paul, for the first time, you guys at BT Global and you are doing a webinar. You've never done this before, never gone public that way, to the public directly like that, other than, through what we do on Money Talks, which we appreciate very much. So this is a full webinar with Paul and BT Global coming up at the end of the month. We are going to inundate you with opportunity there. We're going to reserve some seats for our Money Talks listeners, our inside edge, because again, they're always limited in that. But Paul, I think that's fantastic. I'm really glad you're doing that.
Well, we appreciate the opportunity. Thanks,
Yeah,
man.
going to be good stuff. Paul, great as always to get a chance to chat. So much going on here, and we appreciate your insights and expertise.
Okay. Nice chatting, Mike. Look forward to see you again soon.
And the webinar, we'll let you all know about it as we come up to it.